Welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. I'm going to throw out a quick video about Corona 1984. That is the virus that you can't name, or you get the keywords. Now, I'm probably going to get this completely banned and blocked from anywhere I upload it if anyone actually watches the video, because I'm going to say some bad things. The good news is masks probably won't hurt you too much if you don't wear them too often. The bad news is masks probably won't help you very much no matter how often you wear them, or anyone around you. Alright, so today's drama is about masks and the new slate of mandatory mask wearing orders, where you have to wear masks anytime you're in public. This is like Nevada, Arizona, California. There's a whole bunch of places. And it's very heartening to me to see how many rural people are ignoring this order. Because it's silly and it's ridiculous. And it ignores all sorts of systems, dynamics, systemology, math, statistics, cases. Just it's a holy symbol, okay? You put this thing on and it's like a holy symbol. It's way better than wearing a crucifix, okay? Because everyone can see that you are in compliance. Everyone can see that you are not a heretic. It's like this ultimate symbol, and it's a comforting symbol. It literally hides you from the world. It gives you anonymity and protection. It's like a safety blanket wrapped around your face. So it is the best holy symbol that you could have. As far as it goes, though, it's not a terribly effective disease control measure by any scale that is actually measurable that I can find. Now, I can find pop sci articles, stuff that does not make it up the intellectual hill to even discussing correlation does not equal causation. I can find these articles, these very base articles that don't have real data, that claim, countries that were earliest in adopting masks were the best in stopping the spread. And they'll use something like South Korea as an example, and South Korea is a really good example of what targeted tracing of infected cohorts does for you. Okay? What they did was they tested, and as they got their test results, they would trace and target your contacts. They literally made a herd immunity through isolation. It's a little difficult to describe, but it wasn't masks, and it wasn't social distancing. It was literally accessing the information flow and controlling the spread of the disease by having separation of cohorts that were infected. Not everybody, not some sort of global one-size-fits-all rule. They did a very good job of finding, tracing, and controlling the virus. Now, the United States is a completely different situation, okay? And you can't blame the federal government for not instantly having tests, tracing, containment, and camps for a population of 330 million people spread over a continent, okay? It's not, there's no comparison, apples, oranges. But it wasn't face masks that did Japan or South Korea or Germany, okay? Yes, a lot of Asian countries adopted face masks early, about 20 years ago. And yes, some of those countries did actually do very well with controlling the spread of coronavirus, but it has nothing to do with face masks, or very little to do with face masks. I'm being called an idiot because I don't want to wear a face mask because I have problems. I have lung damage and I have respiratory issues, and I'm not going to cut myself off from fresh air and continue to breathe my exhaled sinus infection and get it into my lungs. Does anyone even know what aspiration means? Okay, stupid, right? But I'm an idiot, and I'm a COVIDiot. And, the thing is, I can actually read and understand some data sets. Arizona is being hit hard. Arizona is a place I'm very familiar with. I'm something of a native. I have contact there. I still travel there a lot. I don't live there at the moment. But I'm pretty familiar with how things work. And Maricopa County, the Valley of the Sun, Sun Valley, is getting hammered right now. Now, what that means isn't that they're getting hammered, it's that they're seeing a spike in cases that is significant. Which means that we've gone from here to here. Not to here. It's just your total population is here. We've gone from here to here. It's a spike, but understand what that spike is. We're nowhere near herd immunity, even in New York City or Phoenix or any of the hardest hit places like Massachusetts. Herd immunity in a non-vaccination sense is about 34%. That's about where you need to be. 34% exposed, infected, recovered. And that's where you get herd immunity according to recent mathematical models. So we're nowhere near that. Okay, the spike in Phoenix is getting you to a couple percent, not 10%, not 30%, not anywhere near where you need to be. However, it's an urban area, urbanized area. It's very spread out because of state land and federal land, but it's an urbanized area of over 5 million people. And they don't have the hospital infrastructure, the ICU, intensive care beds, or the healthcare infrastructure to handle an epidemic or a pandemic. They do not have the infrastructure. Most of the United States does not. If you remember the Las Vegas shooting, which is a horrible thing to bring up, but a couple dozen wounded people shut down the entire medical infrastructure of a metropolitan area of 2.25 million people. Not prepared, not able to handle. The capacity's not there. When I talk about stumbling towards utopia and distributed theories and national security, we'll talk about that, why and how you can fix that. But the capacity's not there. So when the news talks about Phoenix being inundated, they don't have the capacity to handle what's happening. That doesn't mean that what's happening is necessarily severe. It means that the capacity is very underbuilt for the population. Infection rates also went up in a timeline that is incompatible with the theory. The theory is that, from the so-called smart people on the internet, is that the end of the stay-at-home order was Memorial Day. And at that point, everyone stopped wearing masks, which is not true, and I have evidence. And that spread the disease massively. Except that if you look at the timeline, what you see is more of a cohort cross-infection problem. The stay-at-home order, which was a little late in Arizona, caused cohorts that were infected to spread to their cohorts. A cohort is a group of people that associate together. In a rural community, that might be your extended family. In a Mormon community, it might be certain members of your ward. Like you would isolate into groups, but someone's got to feed this elderly lady, so that's going to be the same person. It becomes a cohort, a group of people that have some boundaries, some bubble space around them. And where the two groups cross, where cohorts cross, that's an infection vector in potential. And we're talking boyfriend-girlfriend from different cohorts, or getting called into a random nursing shift at some facility you don't normally work at, and that crosses cohorts. There's different ways to cross cohorts, but cohorts are basically, they exist in nature. It's your social group, and you tend to be much less hygienic or protective in that group. You don't necessarily wear a level 4 contamination suit every time you go to kiss your kid goodnight. Okay, and you shouldn't. Okay, cohorts exist in nature, and they work really well. But the stay-at-home order across the United States has a pretty serious amount of evidence that says that it created increased infection transmission inside cohorts. So the expiration of the stay-at-home order, which did not result in everyone suddenly flinging their masks away, that resulted in cross-cohort contamination. Now people are still going back and isolating with their cohorts. The problem with the stay-at-home order is that you took the cohorts and you mashed them together. Tighter quarters, bad air, no fresh air, no travel, no going outside. You're literally putting people into 18th century hospital spaces, early 19th century hospital spaces, where you go and you put people together and they infect each other and they get sicker. Like, it's almost absurdly insane. But so people are still doing that because the stay-at-home order expires, but everyone's still told, stay at home, don't go out, don't go to the park, don't go walk, stay at home as much as you can. Yes, you can go to the restaurant and get the takeout and take it back home, whatever. But you're still have people more isolated and more indoors. I know people in Arizona who have filled up their gas tank once since March. Which means they're staying home and indoors in the same dead air, okay, because this is summer in Arizona. You don't open your windows, right? Same dead air for months, okay? I want you to imagine like 2 people, 2 cats, 2 dogs, all right, in a 3-bedroom house for months. This is not healthy to breathe, period, okay? I would be on oxygen with no infection needed if you did that to me. Hands down. Like, I have lung damage. I would be on oxygen if you put me into a house, no matter how much you clean, that had carpet, air conditioning filters or whatever, air vent filters, and I was supposed to stay inside with the windows mostly closed for 2 months with another person and a couple of animals. Yeah, I'm either going to be in the ER or on oxygen or both multiple times. And back to the topic. What's happening in Arizona is a triple whammy, okay? You have so one of the problems with coronavirus and stay-at-home order and the business closures and everything is that you have closed access to public hygiene. Now, I'm told that masks are an immediate problem and an immediate solution, but opening Starbucks bathrooms is not. Okay? Opening the Basha's bathroom is not. Giving people a way to wash their hands is not an immediate solution. It's some sort of sanitation thing down the road. Okay, well, whatever. All right? That's the bullshit, okay? Masks are far less important than letting people wash their hands. There's a lot of data to support that. Now, so this is fairly global, fairly global in the United States as a variable. That we have shut down a lot of public restroom, public hygiene facilities. It is very difficult if you do leave your house, or if you don't have a house, to wash your hands, use the bathroom, do whatever. To be clean is very difficult. And you look at places, I'm going to use Massachusetts and Tennessee because they have similar populations. They both have like 6.8 million people, 6.89, 6.84 for the other. And they have massively different rates, okay? Using the death rate, and I'll use the death rate because infections, tests, whatever, there's complications there. 8,000 in Massachusetts. Less than 600 in Tennessee. Now, I've polled people in both places, and in Massachusetts, everything is basically shut. If you leave your house, you cannot pee, you can't drink water, you can't wash your hands. Okay, in Tennessee, all those dumb-ass rednecks decided to say, screw it, and you can still use the bathroom at the gas station. Probably not the Starbucks, because Starbucks is, socially awake. They're woke. No bathrooms for you. But most places in Tennessee, you can still wash your hands. There's other factors in the two and the death rates, like there's living distance, there's living style. There's a lot more going on than just social distance. Like there's non-social distance, that's a major factor. And there's economic factors, like how you get your services in a city versus how you get your services in a smaller town. There's a lot more infection path in an urban environment just to get a can of soup into your hand than there is in a rural Walmart. Okay, back to Arizona. Arizona has a big problem with this whole public hygiene sanitation thing. It's an overloaded system to begin with, okay, because Arizona has a climate and environment where they have a lot of transient, involuntary and voluntary homeless people, travelers, independence-minded people. There are a lot of people out there who don't live in traditional houses where you can weld the door shut and they'll be fine for a month. Okay? There's the sanitation issue is huge. It's big. It's immediate. There's also a hygiene issue in certain socioeconomic subgroups or subcultures, and that has to do with, just there's immigrant cultures, there's poorer subcultures, there's more tight-knit but less Americanized subcultures. There are groups that do not practice particularly good hygiene socially, like as a culturally, and they don't practice particularly good interpersonal hygiene. You have a lot of groups that do not have the standard American standoffish nature. People for whom social distance is actually a thing. And in America, it's usually in that 18-inch to 3-foot space. Like that's just, you get inside there, depending on the person, and you're inside the bubble. There's an automatic discomfort. Other cultures, it can be literally 3 inches, 2 inches, or touching. Like people can literally be touching in total comfort. You're just touching strangers. And so this is what social distance actually is. And you have a lot of subcultures in the Phoenix area that don't have particularly good interpersonal cultural hygiene, and they have low social distance, low social hygiene. And so that's a factor. It's a big factor. It's one that no one wants to talk about because you're talking about different cultures. And all cultures are supposed to be good, but it's a factor, all right? It's just part of life. So you have these things going on here, and it's not about the masks. It's about the other factors. And the problem with all of the attention, angst, and horrible religious iconography that is being placed on the mask is that everyone's ignoring, people are ignoring actual significant factors that can help or hurt. You need to really, really think about what can help and what can hurt. And it's not the mask. Okay, I'm not saying that masks are bad. Go ahead and wear it. I mean, there are certain places and people, like healthcare workers should probably wear the mask. I'm not going to argue that the Walmart cashier shouldn't wear a mask, because yeah, you should. The checker or the stalkers and the people out on the floor, much more than the cashier, because the cashier has a big plexiglass wall, which is like the world's biggest face shield. So whatever, but yeah, okay, you're in contact with a lot of people in a very confined area. If that's a good time to wear a mask, okay? That's fine. If you can wear it properly, if it works, if it actually seals. There's the eye mucus membranes, there's the nose, there's the gaps in the back, there's all sorts of reasons why the mask won't work. But it's not a bad idea to wear it in those environments. Not saying it is. The idea that you're requiring people to wear one to go out in public, to leave their house, is absurd and takes away from our ability to intelligently handle what there is of a pandemic. Okay? I love the systemology. I love the statistics. I love the data. I love to play with this stuff. It's like a wonderful freaking head game. But it's very frustrating because I'm inundated with people online who literally cannot think past the end of their nose and a mask. They can't see anything past that. I'm literally told that washing hands is not important because wearing a mask is an immediate solution. Solution to what? I'm guessing personal comfort or personal virtue signaling. Well, stay sideways and have a good one.